I came home that night drenched in exhaustion, 14 hours on-site under the Louisiana heat, boots caked in mud, back screaming from labor. All I wanted was a hot shower and to pass out in peace. My hand was on the doorknob when I noticed it, my brother Jim's black pickup in the driveway. Weird. We hadn't spoken in weeks since the 4th of July fight where he called my wife a walking warning label. Guess he changed his mind. The front door was cracked open. I stepped inside. No lights, no sound. Just the low hum of the fridge and the smell of something faintly floral and musky. The scent wasn't mine. It wasn't even hers. It was his cologne, that damn overpowering Alpha Storm he's worn since college. I walked down the hallway like I was walking into a dream I didn't want to see the end of. Then I heard it. The rhythmic creak of our bed. Our bed. Followed by her moans, that tone she used to make when we were younger, when it was real. I didn't kick the door open. I just turned the knob, stepped in, and there it was, my wife, Madeline, on all fours, head thrown back, with my brother deep in betrayal. And they both froze. She had the audacity to look surprised. Jim rolled off her like a wet dog, fumbling for his jeans. Madeline didn't even bother covering herself. She just sat back, a twisted smirk crawling onto her lips like I'd interrupted a sitcom. "Tyler, it's not what it looks like," she said, as if there was any other interpretation of her being railed by my own flesh and blood. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I reached into the drawer behind the door and calmly pulled out my Magnum, unloaded, of course. Just a message. Jim nearly tripped over himself getting out, pants halfway on, and I said 5 words that made her face finally go pale. "Get out of my house." But the betrayal wasn't done yet. From the hallway, our daughters, Emma, 16, and Bella, 14, came running. They must have heard the commotion. But instead of being horrified, instead of crying or yelling, Emma squared her shoulders and said something that shattered me deeper than the sight of my brother defiling my wife. "Dad," she said, voice cold, "you're not in charge of this family anymore. You need to accept the new reality." I blinked. "What?" She glanced back toward the bedroom like it was sacred ground now, like Uncle Jim was a hero instead of a coward. "Uncle Jim is twice the man you'll ever be," Bella added, arms crossed, eyes burning with teenage spite. And that was it. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I just smiled, a broken, bitter smile, and walked out. I spent that night in the backseat of my truck, parked behind the gas station near the freeway. I couldn't sleep. Not because I was uncomfortable, but because every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, Madeline, mocking me with that smile. I heard my daughters' voices echoing through my skull like a drumbeat of betrayal. The next morning, I texted them once. Just once. And then I went dark. I blocked them on everything. Shut down my WhatsApp. Deactivated all my socials. Let them live in silence, because sometimes silence screams louder than words. An hour later, my phone, now freshly connected only to my private line, exploded. 57 messages. All from Madeline. Some from Jim. Even Emma texted once, "Dad, please come home." Too late. Because that day, they found out. They found out that Madeline had made me sign a prenup. Or so she thought. Turns out, her father had written it to protect me. Yeah, her own dad had seen her for what she really was, a manipulative, lying, cold-blooded user. The prenup said if she cheated, she walked away with nothing. Guess what? She cheated. Guess who gets the house, the cars, and the savings? Me. And guess who's now homeless, living in a motel with Jim, whose wife left him the same night? Madeline. She never saw it coming. And that was just the beginning. I didn't even need to lift a finger. The news did the work for me. Madeline's father, Robert Carson, was a man of few words, but a man of action. I remember the day he handed me the prenup like it was yesterday. We were sitting on his back porch watching a Saints game. He looked at me, sipped his beer, and said, "Son, I love my daughter, but she's unstable. If you're serious about this, sign this. For your own good." Back then, I was offended. I thought he didn't believe in us. In her. I thought he was being overly cautious. But I signed it anyway, just to prove a point. Never thought I'd thank the man for saving my life. The day after I walked out, Robert called me. First time in almost a year. No hello. No warm-up. I heard. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. She's a damn fool. She always was. And just like that, the man who used to call me boy said, "Come by the office tomorrow. We'll make it official." By noon the next day, I had everything locked in. Madeline didn't get the house, didn't get the cars, didn't get the savings, and sure as hell didn't get the business, the small construction firm her father had helped us build. Turns out, he never let her name get on the paperwork. She only thought she had power. Classic Madeline, full of bark, no bite. She called me 33 times that day. Left voicemails ranging from crying to screaming to fake sweet-talking. I didn't answer a single one. I scrolled through my WhatsApp messages later that night. Not because I wanted to hear from them, but because I wanted to see how quickly they panicked once reality slapped them in the face. Tyler, please. Let's talk. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. You don't understand. I was lonely. It was a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake. It meant something. But it doesn't have to end us. And then the real kicker, a message from Emma. Uncle Jim isn't who I thought he was. I guess the glow wore off quick when motel room reality set in. Turns out, Jim's not the amazing father figure she fantasized about. He's broke. He drinks. And surprise, surprise, he's not interested in raising someone else's teenage daughters. A week later, I heard Emma moved in with Madeline's mom, and Bella ended up staying with a friend's family. No one wanted to stay in that motel room with those two degenerates. The best part? Madeline tried to go on Facebook to spin her little sob story. Called me controlling. Said I was emotionally distant. Claimed I was never around, never supportive, never passionate enough. But she forgot one thing. People knew me. I had photos, videos, friends, stories, years of proof. So I posted one thing, one single post. 14-hour shift. Came home. Found my brother with my wife. They told me I wasn't the man of the house anymore. Good thing her dad knew better. It went viral in a matter of hours. Not just friends. Everyone saw it. Mutuals, old coworkers, even my high school football coach commented, "You deserved better, son." And Madeline? She deleted her account the next day. But none of that gave me satisfaction. Not really. The revenge, the karma, sure, it felt right. But there was still that knot in my chest. That sting. That moment when I realized my own daughters had turned their backs on me. And for him, Jim. The same guy who got arrested at 22 for stealing a car stereo. The guy who ruined 3 marriages before mine. The guy who hit on every waitress he ever saw. And I couldn't help but wonder. How long had it been going on? How many family barbecues had they made eye contact across the lawn? How many fake headaches had Madeline given me while sneaking off to call him? I wasn't just betrayed. I was played. And now, the only thing I wanted more than answers was peace. It started to come together slowly, like watching a jigsaw puzzle reveal a picture you didn't want to see. The first real crack in the mirror wasn't the night I caught her. It was something smaller. Something I ignored at the time. A missed call. A smirk. A new perfume. You think you're going crazy at first. That's the trick they play, make you feel like the problem. I remember the day I found her standing out on the porch, whispering into her phone, twisting her hair the way she does when she's trying to charm someone. She saw me through the glass door and jolted like she'd been burned. Then she walked inside with that rehearsed look of innocence and said, "Just talking to Mom." I wanted to believe her. And that was the beginning of my downfall. I wanted to believe the woman I married wouldn't lie to me so easily. Now that I've had time to think, I can trace every lie like a trail of breadcrumbs. The work retreats that always popped up last minute. The dead battery excuses when I'd call and her phone went straight to voicemail. The way she started dressing different, wearing those short skirts and stilettos again like she was 25 and on the hunt, but never when she was with me. And worst of all, the way she looked at me, like I was in the way. Not a husband, not a partner, just a piece of old furniture she kept around because throwing it out would be too much work. One night, a month before the whole world collapsed, she came home at midnight smelling like mint gum and cheap hotel soap. I asked her where she'd been, and she said, "Book club." I said, "Since when does book club meet at the Marriott?" She blinked, paused just a little too long, then said, "It's a fancy thing one of the girls planned." Tyler. God, you never listen. And then she turned it on me. Like I was the idiot. Like I was paranoid. She was good at that. Twisting the truth until you start doubting your own mind. But looking back, the worst part wasn't her lies, it was my silence. I swallowed every red flag and told myself it wasn't what it looked like. Because the alternative was too painful to face. That the woman I built a life with was never really mine to begin with. I kept digging after I left. Not out of spite. Not even out of curiosity. I needed closure. I needed to understand. And that's when I found the receipts. Literally. Hotel bills charged to our shared credit card, but under fake names. Dozens of Uber rides to places she never mentioned. A second phone she left logged into her cloud account with photos. I'll never forget the way my stomach turned when I opened that gallery. It wasn't just pictures of her and Jim in a motel mirror. It was them smiling, eating dinner, holding hands, celebrating holidays I thought she was spending with her sister, posing with little love notes scrawled on napkins. She had a whole second life. And in it, I didn't exist. No husband, no home, no daughters. Just her, living a fantasy where loyalty was optional and shame didn't exist. I threw that phone across the room. It cracked against the wall and fell flat, just like our marriage. Later that night, I found the first message from Jim in my inbox. He had the nerve to write me a letter. Hey man, it started. I know you're probably upset. Upset? Upset is what you feel when the dog pees on the carpet. This was betrayal sharpened into a blade. He rambled about love, how it just happened, how no one planned it, how he didn't mean to hurt me. And at the end, maybe someday you'll understand. I don't think I will. Because there's a line you don't cross. And Jim didn't just cross it, he burned the whole damn bridge down. 3 days after the explosion, she showed up. I was staying at a buddy's place out in the suburbs. Greg, loyal to a fault. The kind of guy who'd drag a body for you and not ask a single question. He didn't say much when I told him what happened. Just cracked open 2 beers and said, "Hell of a woman you married, man." It was late afternoon when I heard the knocking. Not a soft tap. It was frantic, like someone running out of time. I opened the door, and there she was. Madeline. Hair a mess, eyes puffy, mascara streaked like war paint down her face. But still dressed like she was heading to a date, tight blouse, short skirt, heels digging into Greg's concrete steps. "Tyler," she breathed, "we need to talk." I leaned against the door frame and said nothing. "I made a mistake," she began, stepping closer. I was confused. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I let her speak. Let her spill every excuse, every cliché, like she was reading lines from a bad soap opera. It was just a moment. Jim was there when you weren't. I was feeling neglected. I thought maybe I was losing myself. I needed to feel wanted again. Wanted? She was wanted, by a man who couldn't pay rent and probably used my razor to shave before wrecking my marriage. "Look at me, Tyler," she said, voice trembling. "You know this isn't who I am." I scoffed. "You're right. It's worse." Her eyes narrowed. The act dropped in a heartbeat. "Fine. Be bitter. But don't act like you're some perfect saint. You work too much. You shut me out. You were boring." There it was. The truth. Not regret. Not sorrow. Just venom. I'm boring. But Jim, the guy who lives off gas station jerky and couldn't hold a job longer than a carton of milk, he's the upgrade? She crossed her arms. At least he listens. At least he knows how to make a woman feel something. I stepped forward, voice cold. "You mean feel like a teenager sneaking out the window?" That hit a nerve. She clenched her jaw, but I wasn't done. "You disrespected me in my home. You made me feel like I was going crazy, like I was the problem. And when you got caught, your daughters, our daughters, stood beside the guy who destroyed everything. Because you poisoned them." Her voice cracked. "They're just confused. They didn't know what to think. They knew enough to call their father weak. To tell me I wasn't in charge anymore." Silence. Heavy. Bitter. Dense like smoke after fire. Then she said it. "You really think they'd take your side after how cold you become?" I stepped back and laughed. Not out of humor. Out of disbelief. "You still think this is about sides? This isn't a war. This is a funeral. And you're standing in the ashes acting like there's something left to save." Madeline reached out, but I backed away. "You had everything, Mats. A family. A loyal husband. A good life. And you torched it for motel quickies and cheap validation." "I still love you," she whispered. "No, you don't," I said. "You love the idea of me. The version of me that didn't see the truth. That let you lie and smiled through it." She didn't respond. Just stood there. Shaking. Silent. Small. And I realized something in that moment. I didn't hate her. I pitied her. Because she wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry it cost her comfort. That it didn't work out the way she fantasized. She turned and walked down the steps slowly, like she expected me to call out. But I didn't. I watched her walk away. And it felt like the first time I could breathe in weeks. The hardest part wasn't catching her in bed with Jim. It wasn't the lies, the betrayal, or even the smug grin she wore that night when I walked in. No, the real knife to the heart came afterward, when my daughters chose her. And him. They didn't just stand by silently. They defended her. Defended Jim. Like I was some villain who deserved what he got. That line still echoes in my head like a broken record. Uncle Jim is twice the man you'll ever be. That wasn't just a teenage outburst. That was trained. Fed to them over time, like poison in their cereal. I started thinking back to all the subtle shifts, the way Emma started snapping at me over nothing. The way Bella would go quiet when I walked into her room. The eye rolls. The sarcasm. The way Dad started sounding more like an insult. And Madeline? She played it perfectly. She'd smirk behind their backs when they disrespected me. She turned passive-aggressive into an art form. She's just growing up, Tyler. Don't take it personally. But it was personal. I was losing my family while still tucking them in at night. After the confrontation at Greg's place, I decided to reach out to Emma and Bella. Not to beg. Not to argue. I just wanted to talk father to daughter. Maybe, deep down, I still believed there was something left to save. I sent a simple message. Hey, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. I love you both. That hasn't changed. No reply. 3 days passed. Then a message popped up from Emma. We're with Mom. We think it's better if we don't talk for a while. Uncle Jim is good to us. You should try to move on. Try to move on. From my own daughters? I stared at that message until the screen dimmed. Then I locked the phone and just sat there in the silence. That kind of silence that isn't peaceful, it's deafening. Like sitting in a house after a fire's burned through it, trying to remember where everything used to be. Greg came in, took one look at my face, and handed me a bottle of whiskey. Good stuff? He asked. I nodded. I've been through it, he said, sitting down. My ex turned my boy against me too. Said I was violent. All I did was slam a door. How long until it got better? I asked. He shrugged. Still waiting. We drank in silence. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how my daughters would look back on this in 5 years. Would they remember me as the villain? Would they ever realize what she did? What he did? I wasn't perfect. I worked a lot. I didn't always show up to dance recitals or cook dinner or plan birthday parties like Madeline did. But I provided. I was there. I kept the lights on. I paid for the braces, the summer camps, the clothes, the roof. And I loved them. Truly. Madeline gave them drama. I gave them stability. But in the moment, drama always feels more exciting. And stability? It's invisible until it's gone. By the end of the week, I got word that Jim had lost his job. Again. That he and Madeline had been kicked out of the motel after an argument with the manager. That Bella had moved in with her best friend's family and Emma was staying with her grandmother. The little fairy tale was crumbling. And part of me wanted to feel triumphant, to gloat. But all I felt was empty. I didn't want revenge anymore. I wanted healing. Even if I had to do it alone. It's strange how numb you can get. After a while, the hurt stops screaming and starts whispering. You don't cry. You don't yell. You just sit there, feeling like your body's moving through mud while the world spins on without you. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. I was awake. I'd spent weeks mourning a life that was already dead long before I saw it collapse. What Madeline and Jim did wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated, conscious series of choices that spat in the face of every vow we ever made. And now that the fog had cleared, I wasn't interested in pain. I was interested in closure. I took a drive. Not to the bar. Not to Greg's. I went home. My home. Legally, fully, undeniably mine. Thanks to that beautiful prenup her father wrote like a prophecy. She wasn't there, of course. She was couch-hopping between friends who hadn't seen the full story yet, pretending she was a victim. That's the thing about people like her. They're always the victim. They could set your house on fire and cry about the smoke stinging their eyes. I walked into the house and breathed in the silence. It felt different now. Clean. Cold. But mine. I walked into my bedroom. The bed was stripped, mattress bare. I grabbed a new set of sheets from the closet and made it fresh. Clean slate. Then I reached into the drawer of my nightstand and pulled out my Magnum. Loaded? No. But heavy enough to make a point. I cleaned it. Polished it. Not because I planned on using it, but because it deserved respect. That gun had been a symbol the night everything fell apart. It didn't kill anyone, but it ended something. Ended my tolerance. My silence. My patience. And I wasn't finished sending messages. I set the gun down on the table beside a note I had written, short, simple, honest. You didn't just cheat on me. You tried to erase me. But here I stand. Stronger than before. And I will never forget what you did. Tyler. I took a photo of it. Just the note and the gun. Nothing else. Then I sent it to Madeline. No caption. Within 2 minutes, she called. I didn't answer. She called again. And again. Then came the texts. Tyler, what does that mean? What are you doing? Don't do anything crazy, please. We can talk about this. I laughed out loud reading those. Suddenly, I was the dangerous one? Suddenly, I was the unstable one? No, Madeline. That's your game. I'm just playing the final hand. I turned off my phone and dropped it into a drawer. Let her wonder. Let her sit with the weight of uncertainty for once. That night, I poured a drink, sat on the back porch, and stared at the stars. For the first time in what felt like years, I felt something close to peace. Not happiness, not yet, but peace. She'd been evicted from her fantasy. The kids had scattered. Jim was jobless, restless, and halfway to a breakdown from what I'd heard. And me? I was still standing, still breathing, still me. Not the man she tried to bury beneath her lies, but the one who climbed out. A few days passed in quiet. Not peace, just quiet. The kind where nothing moves but the thoughts in your head. I started fixing up the house. Replaced the old drapes, repainted the hallway she always complained was too beige. It felt good to erase her piece by piece, not out of hate, but out of necessity. I even scrubbed the kitchen tiles on my knees, blasting Johnny Cash through the speakers like I was baptizing the house in sound. Every stain I cleaned off that floor was like peeling back a layer of her presence. But there was one room I hadn't touched yet, the office. It used to be mine until she slowly invaded it with candles, planners, and those fake inspirational quotes framed in gold. Live, laugh, love. She lived too much, laughed at me, and gave all her love to someone else. I sat at the desk and opened her drawers. Not to spy. I had no interest in her secrets anymore. I was looking for something I couldn't name. Instead, I found something I didn't expect. A folder marked Legacy. Inside, a letter, addressed to her father. I almost didn't read it. Felt wrong at first. But after what she did, my sense of boundaries had shifted. The letter was handwritten, in her fancy cursive she only used when she was pretending to be elegant. It started sweet, the way she always sucked people in. Dad, I hope you're proud of what Tyler and I are building. I kept reading. He's solid, dependable, but God, sometimes I just want more. He doesn't challenge me. He doesn't surprise me. He doesn't hurt me, and I think maybe I need that to feel alive. My hands tightened. Jim's wild. He listens to me. I don't have to explain myself. I know he's made mistakes, but he makes me feel like I'm 20 again. Like I still matter. So that's what I was, a steady paycheck and a reminder that she was getting older. She never even mailed it. Probably chickened out, or realized that Robert would tear her to pieces if he ever read it. And now? He probably knew everything anyway. I put the letter back, but I took a photo of it. That night, I printed the photo and slipped it into an envelope. Then I mailed it to Jim. No note. No threats. Just truth. If he was still playing house with her, he deserved to know what she really thought of him. That she didn't love him, she loved how he made her feel. Like a drug. Temporary. Addictive. Disposable. The next day, chaos exploded. Jim called Greg, not me, drunk, raging. Said he was done with her. Said she used him like a toy. Said she was manipulating both of them, trying to pit them against each other to keep her own little fantasy alive. Greg told me Jim smashed her phone, punched a wall, took off with her purse, and disappeared for 2 days. And Madeline? She showed up again. Middle of the night. Crying. No makeup. Hoodie instead of heels. This time she looked like a person, not a performance. I didn't open the door. I just watched her through the peephole, pacing, whimpering. Like she thought if she cried enough, the world would reset. She sat on the porch for an hour. I didn't move, didn't speak, didn't give her the satisfaction. Eventually, she left, and I realized something as I watched her tail lights vanish down the street. This was the real her, not the show, not the seduction, not the smirk. Just a lost, broken woman who burned down everything and thought she could crawl back when the fire got cold. But the door? It was never opening again. The morning after she left my porch for the last time, the sun felt different. It wasn't warmer. It wasn't brighter. But it felt earned. For the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't wake up dreading the day. I didn't lie in bed rethinking every conversation, wondering when things started falling apart, or trying to imagine what I could have done differently. I just got up, poured coffee, let it go cold while I stood at the window, staring at the empty driveway. No more surprise visitors. No more lies wrapped in lipstick and perfume. Just silence. Beautiful, weightless silence. That's when I realized something I wish I'd known earlier. You don't lose people like Madeline. You escape them. See, she wasn't a tragedy. She was a lesson. And I had spent years thinking I was the problem, too tired, too focused on work, too boring. But in truth, I was the glue. I was the one holding it all together while she kept trying to tear it down behind my back and call it freedom. She didn't want love. She wanted attention. And when I stopped giving her a daily parade, she went looking for confetti in someone else's bed. As for Jim, last I heard, he got arrested. Bar fight. Drunk and belligerent. Took a swing at a guy who looked at Madeline too long. The same woman he loved turned on him in seconds, told the cops he started it. Threw him under the bus like he was just another stepping stone. She was already texting some other guy the next day. Greg showed me the screenshots. She didn't change. She just upgraded victims. Emma and Bella eventually came around. It didn't happen all at once. It wasn't some emotional reunion where we cried in each other's arms. It was small things, a text from Bella saying, "Happy birthday, Dad." A call from Emma asking if I still had her guitar. They didn't apologize. And I didn't expect them to. They were kids. Confused. Manipulated. Just like I had been. But they were watching now, eyes open, no longer under her spell. And when they saw the truth, they reached out. Carefully. Slowly. Like tiptoeing across glass. And I let them. Because being a father means showing up even when your heart's still cracked. I never talked bad about their mother. Never told them the full story. I didn't need to. They were starting to figure it out themselves. One night, Emma said something that stuck with me. I think. Mom's really good at pretending. I nodded. Yeah, she always was. The fire she set in our lives wasn't an accident. It was a match she struck with full intent, hoping no one would see the smoke until it was too late. But I saw it, and I walked through it. Burned? Yeah, a little, but stronger, cleaner, more me than I had ever been with her in the picture. If you're reading this and you're where I was, confused, doubting yourself, wondering why the woman you love looks at you like a stranger, here's my advice. Trust your gut. Love shouldn't make you paranoid. It shouldn't make you feel like you're chasing ghosts in your own home. If she makes you feel crazy for asking questions, she's hiding something. If she praises you only when it benefits her, she's not loving you. She's using you. And if she cheats, let her go. Not out of hate. Out of respect for yourself. You don't fix a woman like that. You survive her. And then you rebuild. Brick by honest brick. On your own terms.